This is another take on the Esper Ephemerate Reanimator Shell, where the idea is that when you Goryo's Vengeance your Griselbrand, you get to attack with it, draw 14 cards, and you're super likely to find an Ephemerate. Then you can just Ephemerate your Griselbrand, keep it in play with multiple 0-mana incarnations to protect it. I think just like saying that out loud, I'm just actually gonna move the second Jin to the sideboard for like the big mana matchups. And then what do I want the sideboard to look like? So I don't want the Mulldrifters in the sideboard like I had in the other version. Obviously, in this version, you want legendary reanimation targets rather than non-legendary ones. Let me just... I feel like I'm missing something from the sideboard. Hold on. Yeah, I just have like the non-legendary reanimation tutor targets, so we can try... Can try just the third Teferi, or the first Ashiok's fine. Probably play the third Teferi. Play one Obsidat. I used to play Obsidat in the list, but I think that you have to cut them to make room for the Leyline Bindings, and like Leyline Binding is going to be able to slow the game enough that it's probably worth it. Is there a Decklist for See the Truth? It should be in the Stream Decker, but I haven't. You have to do some scrolling because it's like at the beginning of all the Dominaria decks. Okay, so hold on. I have to re-get this list. So I'm going to join a league with the Phoenix deck, so I don't have to return that one. Save it for later. Return the rest of the Reanimator deck, and then rent the Goryo's Vengeance one. You know, in this version, I always like that you had to play Mending as like because obviously you can't play Unmarked Grave with Griselbrand. I really disliked having to play Mending, and so the fact that you get Shadow Prophecy is a better enabler, more card advantage, while also having Leyline Binding to slow your opponents down. I think it's going to be a really good fit. Okay, pretty good ham. And like as bad as the 4-color deck is now, it was so much worse then. It was so nauseating back then. Like I was playing I was also just playing Uro Mystic Sanctuary piles because you just really couldn't do much else. Boshin, 29 months. Valky Cascade was a lot later than that era, but yeah, I mean that deck was gross too. Turn 1 Ragavan in my modern format? How dare you? We lost Mox Opal because of Urza. Yeah, there was a big debate on whether or not to ban Urza or Mox Opal. Did they ban Opal and Astrolabe at the same time? I can't remember. At least they didn't have free interaction for the most part. Yeah. It was different, but I you know, as someone who like never enjoys playing against that type of strategy, it was definitely worse then. They've been Opal, Oko, and once at the same time. Okay, then Astrolabe was still legal. That Urza Oko deck was also really nasty. Coming to main phases. Thankfully they kept a 1-lander. Oh, can't cast that one. Hopefully this doesn't get Spell Pierce, but if they Spell Pierce it, they at least have to use their treasure token. Bin the Griselbrand. I was kind of hoping to find an Incarnation here, or Goryo's Vengeance at least. Saga was a random card they made last minute. I've heard some stories about Saga's testing. I don't know what's true and what's not anymore. Remember when people wanted Stirrings banned? I mean, Stirrings was nuts for a little while, and like 3 of the best decks in the format were Tron, KCI, and Eldrazi, and Stirrings was a big part of the reason why all those decks were so prevalent and popular. They found their second land, and it's a fetch land, so they get Delirium off the Channeler. Do you think nowadays Modern can afford looting? People, this is just such copium that we see all the time in the chat. If you and like what's so funny with this like dialogue tree is that here's the dialogue tree with Faithless Looting. So when someone asks, "Can you print Faithless Looting into the current format?" and I say, "If you printed Faithless Looting now, it would be immediately the best card in Modern. If you, in my opinion, if you printed Faithless Looting right now, it would be the best card in the format." And what's funny is there's like almost no pushback on like that thought. There's almost no people going, "No, it wouldn't be the best card." It's like, it's just like, definitely would be the best card, you know. Okay, Grief is really nice here, so I can go Grief plus Aethermage's Touch next turn. I think I'm putting back the, I guess, Shadow Prophecy. My life's a little low. Ooh, are they gonna hardcast Grief? Oh, they're just gonna double bolt me? Boo. Really wish I had won the die roll this game. Okay. Game 2. So against Murktide, I usually like to bring in my Stony Silences to beat their graveyard-based, their artifact-based graveyard hate. I'm also going to bring in my Teferis. I'm going to cut my Griefs usually, cut my Jin-Gitaxias here, cut the 4th Ephemerate. Kind of hard to cut the 4th Ephemerate here, but I think it's fine. Yeah, Shadow Prophecy definitely went under the radar in my testing. I've also been like looking at some people play the card in Pioneer, and it looks pretty interesting there. There's some like, oh, whoops. The mana bases are kind of abysmal in the Pioneer list, meaning Domain, but it does look like you can make Domain in Pioneer. Okay, so I'm either putting back the Shadow Prophecy or the second Leyline Binding. I think we'll just put back the second Binding. Oh yeah, I forgot the Mardu Pyromancer dialogue tree. That's right. When does Jin come in? Against big mana combo, I think. What's the mold of 6? Do you really need a third Watery Grave or mostly a black-white deck? You could cut it. I think that like you really need blue on turn 2 a lot of the time, and having a density, a critical mass of fetchables is important, but. And obviously, like, you know, you need blue for the Aethermage's Touch. I don't know. It's you could cut it. Love that. I think I'm gonna main phase Tainted Indulgence here, which is obvious. It obviously like feels really bad if my opponent has graveyard hate here, but we'll just cross that bridge. I think I'm gonna Solitude the Ragavan. So I'll think we'll Solitude the Ragavan so that it's going to be harder for them to get a big mana advantage. If I trade 8 Rack with Grief, we're still too weak. I've said this a bunch about Rack decks. It's like, there's like not really much reason to play the Rack and the other Rack, Shrieking Affliction, as long as Kroxa exists, where Kroxa is just like a way better win condition for the Rack deck than like the Rack ever was, in my opinion. I haven't tried it with Grief personally, but also like Grief is just like, you know, not that good. If you're playing it fairly, you need to be abusing the trigger in some way. My opponent's just, you know, they're gonna have counter magic here. I think I'm okay to just Shadow Prophecy for 3 Domain, end of turn for some card selection, and maybe just get to the 4th mana to play around Spell Pierce at least. Also, my opponent might cast Iteration, and I can respond with Vengeance. Vengeance being an instant is such a big game. Okay, so we'll go hand. Yeah, we'll hand the Aethermage's Touch, because now just a fetch land lets me have a second way to go off. Although here we'll just start to cast Teferis. Teferi's never resolving, obviously. Yeah, we did do Modern Elves. I do want to return to Modern Elves. I liked the list I played. I might make a few changes. So like whenever I played Elves, everybody's like, nobody liked Court of Calling, or at least Court of Calling seemed to be like, people were like not really about it. But What I really liked about Court of Calling was like you just have so much card advantage with your elves now that like I thought that and the combination of Dwynen's Elite and Warmaster makes you go so wide. The court is just like so good in the deck. Makes you so much more explosive, makes your sideboard better. I liked my build, but there's a lot of different directions you could go with it, obviously. Did I see the Fiend Artisan build of elves at 5-0'd? I did not see a Fiend Artisan build of elves. When 5-3, 200 play modern event, losses were 4-color Rhinos, Grixis Archon. Yeah, two Fury decks, huh? Is Jace Vryn's Prodigy unplayable modern? I used to play it in this deck. It's fine. I think that Shadow Prophecy, though, is like... Ooh, brutal. Where I'd rather be, I guess. I guess I'm going to target the Griselbrand here. Unfortunately, so it's so bad to target this Griselbrand, and if they counter the touch, I have to draw a Griselbrand for turn. My opponent might also just like pop the Relic though, and then I can just cast Goryos in response. Okay. We're also beating Spell Pierce, Flusterstorm here at least. Kind of a 2-for-1 with the Cottage. They've got 3 cards, I've got 3 cards. Fought through 4 pieces of permission so far. I'm gonna get my Zaggoth. Well, yeah. I can't touch and binding this turn, but I can. Or so not Zaggoth, Proving Ground. But I can play around Spell Pierce. They have to have another like hard counterspell again. I would prefer to not have to just YOLO Aethermage's Touch, and I'm not going to have to if my opponent doesn't have pressure. But sometimes you just have to spin to win. Okay, maybe I've responded to that. They found Ragavan. Shocks and Steam Vents. Cast Ragavan. I guess I'm going to YOLO the Aethermage's Touch because my opponent's just going to counter it. Presumably. And then I can draw Tainted Indulgence or, just something. Okay, Stony at least turns off future pieces of Graveyard Hate, turns off the Ragavan treasures. Means my opponent can't find any of my white spells or play them. Lot of permission to fight through this game. 2 Spell Pierces, 2 Charms, and the Crypt. And they had a turn 1 Ragavan too. I had the Solitude. Okay, Shadow Prophecy, which would have been a really nice top deck for me, but they can't play it because I have the Stony Silence at least. Oh, yeah. Okay, it does feel really bad for this Cottage mana base for that. Blood Moon is definitely making a pretty big comeback in Modern. I think largely due to Leyline Binding. Yeah, I did have a good recharge day yesterday. Deck selection Modern, such like a personal and convoluted thing. It's hard to say what's best for any individual person. Yeah, I agree that Murktide's always been kind of a tough matchup. I think with the other, like the version I've been playing previously, I haven't hated it or anything, but it is just always tough to have to play through turn 1 Ragavan plus 5 pieces of permission, I just want to have something to play local edge events. Yeah, for that purpose, I would say either one would be fine, and your decision is going to just kind of be which one you think is more interesting. Okay, we're up against a Valakut deck. Oh, this is probably seeing Steam Vents. This is probably just like Team Escape Shift, which has been a pretty popular deck recently, surprisingly enough. Just gonna pass back here. So we see Modern Elves. I've talked about it. Yeah, I think Modern Elves is really sweet. Well, I want to play it again at some point. I'm really hoping that we get to play. However, I really want to play the Phoenix deck today. They said they would fix the bug today. I'm thinking it's gonna happen in like an hour or so. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think I just put back a Prophecy. So this deck usually plays just Remand as its permission, so I should be able to go Cottage back Griselbrand. And if they have Remand on their instep here, then I'm going to be able to just upkeep Aethermage's Touch and then Ephemerate my Griselbrand. What bug? See the Truth is supposed to let you draw 3 cards, or sorry, Founding the Third Path is supposed to let you draw 3 cards of See the Truth on Chapter 3, but it hasn't been working. They have double Remand? That'd be so gross. Oh no! Oh no! I know I don't have the mana. Fuck. Fuck. I can put it back in the yard though. That was a big punt. Notably, they're shocking in their Steam Vents. It looks like they have Remand, but they're just like not playing it. Wonder if we ever Solitude Ephemerate. Probably not, right? Kind of looking for Grief. Goryo's Vengeance is really good though. So if they... Okay, there's Grief. Perfect. I'd prefer not to have to pitch a Goryo's Vengeance, but I think with double Ephemerate, it should be fine. Especially because their permission is Remand, so like as the second Vengeance doesn't even do very much. So they Remand the Grief. Then I need to go Goryo's on Griselbrand, which presumably gets remanded again. Then I can just Goryo's again. Okay. So let's attack first. Okay, so not gaining the life off Griselbrand here, but I'm going to Ephemerate this anyway, so we'll Ephemerate it now so they don't get their card. And then I think we can get down to 4. Find another black card for Grief. We also find another Grief. We can go Grief. Ephemerate. Okay, I'm going to take a Lightning Bolt. Iteration. And then the Remand with the other Grief. Like in Solitude, a Dryad, if they draw a land for turn, they go Solitude land. That's a Dryad land. No, I have Solitude. And I'm almost at 4. It would have to be a fetch land, but it shouldn't really matter either way. But this is what's so nice about the deck, obviously. Like with all the 0 mana incarnations, Griselbrand just, you know, it's kind of like a legacy where you get to Griselbrand into 0 mana interaction too. A little bit different. And here I get to Grief the other two Dryads. And then I do think I'm probably supposed to try to draw into another Ephemerate. No, I guess I could just discard Grief and then Aethermage touch it. Or, sorry, I even just have a Grief in the yard already, so I can just go Witch's Cottage, get back Grief, draw step, Aethermage's touch. What do you mean you may now? This deck is always so sweet. Okay, drew a land for turn, but they're also dead. We just have lethal in play. Okay, I'm gonna bring in my Jin-Gitaxias, number 2. I'm bring in the Thoughtseizes. They should be on Endurance, right? I think Mingu posted the list again recently. Maybe I'm misremembering. Oh, yeah, here it is. 1 main deck dress down. Veil of Summer in the sideboard. Chalice in the sideboard. Flusterstorm. No Endurances, though. I assume it's like pretty similar to this list. No Graveyard Hate at all. I'm going to go down to like 2 Solitudes. Leyline Binding can hit Wrenn and 6. Can hit Dress Down. Can hit Chalice. But I think I'll... Maybe I'll just play no Solitudes and just play like 3 Leyline Bindings. That's like my permanent interaction that I don't really need that much of. I'm not like that scared of Chalice, I think. Want some answers to it. And then Teferi seems very good against the Veil of Summer plan. Gonna bring these in, I think. I think we can afford to cut the 4th Ephemerate. 4th Aethermage's Touch can be kind of slow in this kind of matchup. And maybe 4th, just trim 4th Prophecy is fine. Obviously figuring out sideboard plans. Is there a legendary you use over Jin? You tell me. I think Jin's better than, is the second best legend. It's really, really good to make them discard their hand. I think you draw 7, but the only other option is really Obnixilis, or not Obnixilis, Obsidian Ghost Council. Shadow Scar, 2 months, thank you. Yeah, I love the Reanimator stuff too. It's always so fun. Opponent plays a lot of Veil of Summers. I think I'll just get an Esper Triumph here. My opponent plays Wrenn and 6 turn 2. That's like opened up my Thoughtseize from a Veil. If you cut Solitude, Touch loses value. Yeah, but it's your, you know, it's the redundancy for Goryo's Vengeance. I like trimming Aethermage's Touch a lot of time in matchups like this that are like combo mirrors. So I do agree to cut a Touch, but like not because it's losing value. I think they didn't have the Veil of Summer. They do have a second Wrenn and 6 though. I think I'm just gonna go take Dryad, Grief the Spiral, and then Grief will be in the graveyard to Aethermage's Touch back if I want it. Not sure that I want it. Any thoughts on the new Shieldred that gains 14 when you draw 7? The new Shieldred seems very good in Pioneer. I actually had to buy 2 yesterday for my Pioneer playtesting. They're very expensive, but I had enough tickets, thankfully. It was like 90 ticks for just 2 Shieldreds. Yeah, I think I should shock here so I can get Cottage back the Grief next turn, and I can go. Yeah, we'll go end of turn Leyline Binding Wrenn and 6, and then I might want to take the other Wrenn with the Leyline Binding, but I don't think I'm supposed to just like binding this right now. No, that's not an Athena live cam, it's a Lucy live cam. Athena doesn't sit still long enough, but our new dog Lucy does. Does a fun, good Pioneer deck exist? I don't know. I've been enjoying Pioneer. At least I've been enjoying like playing and brewing with the new cards in Pioneer. I do feel like brewing in Pioneer, unfortunately, is really tough at the moment. There's just like, it's just kind of tough to find something that's good against like red-black, the Izzet decks, and mono-green, and as well as the various aggro decks. But I've been working on some ideas. I've had some cool stuff going on, but I'm trying to keep it under wraps till after my RCQ this weekend. Yeah, they can have their Wrenn and 6. Yeah, I like playing Phoenix too. Phoenix is fun. I had some new Phoenix tech I was working on. We'll talk more about it later. I've said too much. I think I am going to YOLO the Aethermage's Touch. I did just put 4 non-creatures on the bottom. Or 3 non-creatures on the bottom. And I just can't give my opponent infinite top decks either. What would I be bringing to a Pioneer Modern RCQ this weekend if I was playing? I brought the older version of this deck to Modern last weekend. I lost playing for an invite again, but I might run it back. I don't know. I would think about it some more. I'm keeping Pioneer under wraps, though. Let's go. Just natty Griselbrand. I'm keeping Pioneer under wraps a little bit because I am... I think it worked well last weekend, too, but before I was just telling everybody what I was playing at RCQs, and it just so happened that like at least twice in a round it was like pretty clear my opponents knew what I was on before the match started, which is fine, obviously, but I don't have very many more chances to get the invite, so I'm trying to, you know, sweat it up a little bit and try hard, and to do that, I'm going to need to not just tell everybody what I'm playing. Okay, let's go. Just start off with a Grief here, or maybe I start with Teferi, so they could have Veil of Summer. Teferi into Grief into end of turn Goryo's Vengeance on their turn. Do have the Veil. Oh, sorry, I also have to Ephemerate my Griselbrand. So I'm just gonna draw. I guess I bounce the Leyline Binding, but I want to be able to discard my Jin-Gitaxias. So we can Goryo's it on their instep, make them discard their hand. My XX and top 8ing RCQs I played. No, I've missed top 8s. I've like O2 dropped 2. There was one where I would have been able to draw in the top 8, but I got paired down and I had to play and I lost to like top deck burn spell. And then there was a limited RCQ where I started off 5-0, and there was a 7-round event. I thought for sure. Oh, sorry, I meant to discard the Jin. I guess got monologuing, although looks like maybe we're just dying to Scape Shift anyways. I started off 5-0. I thought I could double draw in. I got 9th. I got 9th, which was brutal. Then that says GG's. I don't think I could do that if I did the Griselbrand stuff, right? Maybe I'm misremembering. Okay, let's put back the Jin. We have the Griselbrand. That was my day off. Did I write anything? Yeah, and it was like yesterday was my day off, but well, I was just like super sleep deprived. I just couldn't sleep at all the night before, so I didn't want to stream. But I ended up spending like 2 hours making a Channel Fireball video, and like 2 hours writing, and like 6 hours and like 6 hours playtesting Pioneer and Modern decks, including this one. So it didn't necessarily feel like a day off, but I was just like too sleep deprived to stream. So Mountain Channeler is almost definitely a prowess deck, and I think that I probably don't need to be super duper fearful of counter magic. That being said, I think I might just do this main phase anyways. If I draw, there's a chance I might just grief them if I draw like a redundant Griselbrand, which I don't do. Why does it say 0-2, 2-0? I don't know. It says 1-1 for me. No, I won. I won the match. Yeah, I don't know why you thought I lost. My opponent iced me, but they didn't have the escape shift. I was also up a game, right? Yeah, but so instead of casting the Teferi, you're saying play around Scape Shift on their turn by hardcast Grief, Ephemerate on their turn. That's probably fine. Doesn't play around the Veil as well, but you're probably right that the Veil is less relevant to play around. Okay, let's pass back. There's a good chance I just Solitude this if they get Delirium. I can take another one though. You had some gauntlets for RCQs. Most of my area was about 40. Yeah, I think with the exception of like one tournament, which was like the worst run tournament in our area, with the exception of one tournament, all of my local RCQs were like at least 40 players, with like many of them being over 100, being a lot of them in like the 70-person range. I liked three breach in the prowess list I played last. I liked that mono red list a lot. I give some examples of the tomfoolery going around in DreamHack. There's like it's all like in the Twitter thread, but you know, like an hour after I posted that tweet, there was like reports of a 8-person standard RCQ that was capped at 8 players because the store owner didn't want to run Swiss, and it's not necessarily it's not DreamHack exactly, but it's like that Wizards has just, you know, given this tournament series to an organizer that doesn't prioritize Magic, and so you just have the most random stuff happening. Also, so the worst run event, I just alluded to it, right? But the dynamic at that event was that one of my friends showed up. He was the first person there, and the store messed up, and they didn't register him in the tournament. They did something wrong. And because of the software that they're using, that I believe, like, the rules DreamHack set, they couldn't manually add him to the tournament. So they just kind of jankily, like, remembered what his record was, and then he was paired, but he was paired against people with, like, no wins on their record the entire day, and so obviously he, like, easily top 8'd because he's playing against he lost his first 2 rounds and then won his next 4 because he's playing against people that are 02, 03, 04. He got like a bye in round 4 or 5, I think, and like ended up top 8'ing. It was disgusting. It was ridiculous. It wasn't his fault because like they messed up, but it was really, really embarrassing, to be honest. And I like that's like maybe the most egregious example of tomfoolery I've seen at these DreamHack events. But I've heard lots of reports like this. Like the software is like, once it's in. There's no editing, there's no anything, and so any like user error, any person error ends up being like unfixable. Oh, I guess I should have ephemerated first because I want to grief them after they connive. Yeah, I'll be at SCUCon Dallas. You know, it's also like, if you qualify online, you have to pay for your entry badge, which is really dumb. In Canada, you have to pay for your entry no matter what, and it's just because like Wizards has like sold this like super prestigious, very high energy, very high excitement tournament. They just sold it to the lowest bidder, you know, which is a bummer. I think I want at least the first Stony Silence. We'll just play 1 for now. Maybe play more once we see if they're not on Leyline. $90 for the. I've heard between 80 and 100, whatever it is. Like that's a lot of money for just a tournament entry, and for one that you had to be invited for it's just dumb. It's just dumb. And it just really seems like there's not a lot of oversight from Wizards on the tournament series, and it really does feel like they, you know, were happy to give it to the lowest bidder, you know. And maybe it gets better. Like, there's obviously always going to be growing pains returning to a tournament series post-COVID, and I'm happy to get to play. Obviously, I'm happy, you know, that there is like a prestigious tournament series to aspire to again, but things could be better. And I mostly just like, you know, I mostly just hope that Wizards doesn't use DreamHack for the tournaments in America. I like playing the DreamHack Dallas event was like, it was a very, very exciting event for Magic players to be. This is like the first RCQ in the States, and it was a really, really exciting event to go to. And it was huge. It was like a really big tournament as well. And it was like also like so clearly like one of the smallest things happening at the DreamHack event, you know. And DreamHack also, like, didn't they fire their Magic guy? Destructotron, thank you with the 5-pack. Appreciate you, buddy. Got a gifted set from Destructo. Make sure to thank him. Yeah, but yeah, I've heard bad things about the Canada system. I've heard bad things about the South American system. I've heard bad things about the European system. I've experienced bad things with the American system. It can just be better, you know. Billy, 2 months, thank you. He said Aspire. Use the name of the show in the show. Yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about the European ones, and I don't know. HFRSQs, America is so gifted, Europe as close to 0. Yeah. It's bad all around. It's bad all around for sure. First time seeing this deck, it looks like it's been doing for me. This is so like before Shadow Prophecy, was printed, I thought that this version was a worse version of the like Muldrifter Archon Unmarked Grave Persist version. That being said, after my limited testing with Shadow Prophecy, Leyline Binding in the other list, I think that Shadow Prophecy is probably like a little bit worse than Unmarked Grave, and I probably would like to be back on that card there. And then playing Binding gets weird in that version, but I think it fits. It just fits a lot easier here, where you can't play Unmarked Grave, and you don't want to play Muldrifter either as much. And so because you're not competing with Muldrifter as like that value grindy card, and you're not competing with Unmarked Grave, I think it just fits so well here. Okay, my opponent said BRB. Hopefully they'll be back. Okay, the opponent is back. I like to have Solitude Ephemerate against the red aggro deck. My opponent does not have a 1-mana creature. Why switch to Grizzly Bee over Archon? I think I just talked about it, right? But to briefly summarize, we're mostly just trying to figure out how like this package of domain cards fits in the deck. Leyline Binding is really, really good. Leyline Binding is an incredible card, and it's very good in Reanimator too because it answers all forms of opposing graveyard hate. That being said, it is kind of an interesting conversation about Shadow Prophecy, where in the kind of want to Solitude Ephemerate. Why is opponent unopt? Nobody in the history of modern post-MTGO has built their prowess deck well, including me. I was on a train of thought. Okay, so in the Archon version, I think it's like very clear that you want to play. In the Archon version, I think it's pretty clear that you want to play Unmarked Grave at this point, or like in my limited testing, I think that Unmarked Grave seemed like it's gonna be better than Shadow Prophecy, just being faster, being 60 cards. I did build an 80 card version with Shadow Prophecy that felt maybe a bit better, but that's kind of my current like very surface level evaluation. But it fits a lot better here, where you don't have access to Unmarked Grave in the first place because you're trying to reanimate legendary creatures instead of non-legendary creatures, and another thing too is that before we figured out the Aethermage's Touch tech in this deck, I used to play 4 Faithful Mending, 4 Tainted Indulgence, and that was like how you replaced Unmarked Grave. Once I switched to the Witch's Cottage mana base with Aethermage's Touch, so that way you could play Aethermage's Touch over Priest of Fell Rites, which was the redundant reanimation effect that you had in this deck before we got on the Cottage plan, which is very good. It's now awkward to play Faithful Mending with the Witch's Cottage mana base because you just have so many lands that don't cast your cottages or don't cast your mendings, and so Shadow Prophecy I think really well compensates for this, because it's one that I think works really well with your Cottage mana base, and one that is easily castable, and one that digs you deep for your combo and fills your yard with legendary creatures, hopefully. And so that's the idea of playing this build instead. Can you play 5-color Niv in this deck? Have I thought about that? I mean, we don't have like the multicolor cards to hit off the 5-color Niv. Be an incredibly a deck built so differently than it is now. Okay, I'm gonna get my Triome here. I think I'm gonna main phase this because there's a good chance they brought in like Spell Pierce effects. I might attack as well. Okay, so this is phenomenally good hits. I think I'll just take 2 Goryo's Vengeance so I can play around counter magic. If my opponent is on Graveyard Hate, I would obviously like much rather have the Leyline Binding, but if they had Graveyard Hate, they would have already played it out by now, I think. I think it makes more sense to play around counter magic. Yeah, I think that Shadow Prophecy in Modern, at least, is only a card I'm super interested in if you have graveyard synergies like this one. I don't think it's one that I'm like very hyped for if you can't just like bin the Griselbrands like this. Yeah, they go to the graveyard. They don't go on the bottom. How crazy is Imi in a deck like this? All your mission effects are instant speed. Yeah, but like your discard spells aren't. Like for Emrakul, you need 4 or 5 mana total, which is just like too much, and like it's really tough with which is Cottage too. I think Binding might get banned if every deck is turning into 5-color control soup. I mean, this deck isn't 5-color control soup. This is very much an Esper deck that is playing domain cards. But there's only one 5-color soup deck. It's the Omnath deck. Leyline Binding is a big upgrade to that deck for sure. It's definitely a big upgrade to a deck that didn't feel like it needed the upgrade. But it is also like way too early to be like it's time for a ban on this card. Is there any removal spell that's banned? Yeah, that's another thing. Banning a removal spell is weird. Not saying that it can't or shouldn't happen, but I don't know that I've ever seen it happen. Okay, so I'm actually going to Goryo's Vengeance now, because they have to attack with the channelers, so I'm going to get to block and gain life anyways. But I'm going to do this now so they can't like top deck Spell Pierce. And then I'll draw cards after I block. Punishing Fire. Yeah, Punishing Fire, that's an example. Why is Jin a split of 1 main, 1 side? I just want like the deck I want against big mana combo decks, and I want like at least 1 to draw in 2 to like lock my opponent out game 1. You can try to play 1 more also. They're bolting their own Channeler to prevent 7 life. They're going to hit me for 5, down to 8. But they have no cards in their hand, but if they hit Lava Dart, I can't draw cards. No Lava Dart. So I'm going to try to draw 7, looking for Ephemerate to just win. Missed on the Ephemerate. I guess I should have done this before damage, huh? So now I'm going to Solitude my own Griselbrand. So I gain 7. I think the second time today, like the card I've needed has just been like 1 too deep. Okay, let's go. Just cast the Shadow Prophecy main phase. You find Griselbrand, we win. There's Griselbrand, we win. Cool. No, Goryo's exiles the card, doesn't go back to the graveyard. Cool. Did the Avowals deal 13 in 1 turn? Yeah, definitely. Just like iteration into 2 spells. You could have Binding your Griselbrand and then Prismatic it. You can't Prismatic Ending Binding, it costs 6 mana, but you can't Binding your own Binding either. Let's keep this. A weird hand, but I'll try it. Up against a Scalding Tarn, but no Ragavan. Play our tap land as a tap land. Yeah, I've been remembering to turn off the notifications before I go to the bathroom. There's the Ragavan, the turn 2 Ragavan, not nearly as scary. Sometimes you just have to be at peace with being hit by a Ragavan. Draw a Watery Grave, we get a domain, fully domained. Oh, man, I needed that Solitude. We think of joint exploration over something like Growth Spiral and Pioneer, not Niv. Well, when you say over something like Growth Spiral, it's kind of funny because like Growth Spiral is such a unique... Oh, Lucy. Growth Spiral is such a unique effect in Pioneer. There's like nothing else that like lets you like ramp for 1 mana besides like Cleansing Wildfire on your indestructible land, or for 2 mana that puts a land into play. It's very unique. There's a good chance my opponent has Spell Pierce. I'm gonna go ahead and Grief this turn. Wish I had double white. Obviously, double white would be really nice here. If they have 2 red removal spells, I'm not super happy. And they have 3. So what if I instead take the counter spell and then cast Shadow Prophecy? Hope to bend a Griselbrand. We failed to bin a Griselbrand. I'll just take the Watery Grave. Oh, I guess I get 2 cards, right? Watery Grave and second Aethermage's Touch. Good chance that I'll just be like, you know, YOLOing this. I think Ridden 6 killed Mana Dork. You hardly see them in Modern anymore. Yawgmoth is one of the best decks in Modern, and it plays, you know, 8 Mana Dorks. There's not a ton of room in the format for multiple creature-based combo decks that play Mana Dorks. However, Yawgmoth is a really good one. One deck, though? Yeah, I mean, I don't know that... Listen, like, it's not just Ridden 6. It's Lava Dart, Ridden 6, Fury, Prismatic Ending. There's a lot of things that make Mana Dorks not that good, but I don't know if there's really ever been a time where there's been tons and tons of different decks that play Mana Dorks. It's always been, like, just Pod or just Devoted Druid, you know? Oh, baby. You love to see it. Sometimes you just have to believe in the touch. Yeah, Band Company is another deck that plays a deck that I like a lot, but... Yeah, so they don't have Delirium at the moment. They have 3 heats, but Archon would be a 6/6 here. Griselbrand 7/7. I'm definitely hoping to trade Griselbrand for Murktide this turn so that I can just Goryo's Vengeance it. Not able to do so. Although I get to attack with this because this bounces on my instep. So yeah, I shouldn't have drawn cards yet. Not like I got punished though, at least. So now, yeah, now I still do want to trade. So let's offer the trade. How do you feel with the Scapeshift decks? I like the Scapeshift decks. I think they're pretty good. Is Shadow Prophecy the Bizarro Faithful Mending? Yeah, and it's also like... Yeah, it definitely acts like a Faithful Mending in the stack. Okay, so now I have to Ephemerate my Griselbrand, so let's do that. It definitely acts like your extra discard enabler, but like Mending being blue-white is so bad with the Cottage mana base, so like I used to play Cottage in this deck. And the mana base, I just hated it. I just despise the mending with like all these swamps, but Shadow Prophet, like Domain for Shadow Prophecy is like is like way easier to get than you might expect to. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go Fetch Shock, Godless Shrine into Solitude, Ephemerate Solitude, and then just have another Solitude at the ready. Oh, I guess I only have one for now. That's fine. I think I kind of like the... Okay, let's concede. Thoughts on Amulet Titan Shift running 2 Scapeshift with Colossus? I've seen it in action both times in paper. I don't know. Maybe I've seen it like once or twice on Magic Online, but it's like looked really good when they've played Scapeshift. What do they do with the heats? They cast them. They just didn't have Delirium, which is, you know, lucky for me, right? What did I do last time? What was the other card I cut? Oh, the 4th Ephemerate. Right. I think I like the sideboard plan. Any more thoughts of developing elves? We'll work on elves some more. I liked my build. I liked just like relying on Realmwalker and Leafcrown Visionary for card advantage, and then Eldar, and then Court of Calling is just really good with the go wide strategy. A lot of other people have different takes on the deck. I think that there's lots of reasonable ways to build it, and I look forward to see how the deck evolves over time. Good time for deck tech. Yeah, anytime is fine. I haven't done too many today. Maybe I've done 0 today. Yeah, Stony is for any deck playing artifact-based graveyard hate. So Murktide plays some combination of Hearse, Tormod's Crypt, Relic of Progenitus, but mostly Hearse. And in addition, you get a little bit of splash damage against Mishra's Bauble and Ragavan treasures. Answering Ragavan treasures is way more relevant than you think, also. Yeah, but it's nice. We think of Steam Augury and Pioneer. You don't need to play Steam Augury in a format with Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time. Yeah, we might add like one Pet Lucia stream, but I know from back when we used to have the Pet Athena redemption, it would just get redeemed nonstop. But I love Lucy too. She is so good. She likes to be under the blanket at night, which is very cute. Athena hates to be under the blanket because she's like husky with a lot of fur. So I just assumed dogs hated to be under the blanket. But she's even like she's even just like completely covered and she doesn't mind. It's very cute. So we go up to 7. Yeah, it was main phase the Shadow Prophecy, so we have to go to discard. We can discard the Griselbrand. Oh no, I guess I'm a card short. Never mind. Never mind. I mean, I definitely want the Vengeance. Do I want a fetch land or do I want... I feel like I like a fetch land a lot because I can go Leyline Binding plus Prophecy next turn. Would Goyf be good in a Founding the Third Path deck? I mean, like, there's like it's an enchantment that fills up the grave in your Tarmogoyf deck, but I don't beyond that I don't know what like your Sultai Goyf deck looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna Indulgence now, so that I can play around Spell Pierce and just kind of make sure that this gets resolved. And then I think I'm gonna Solitude a Channeler after the attack, but I might Solitude a Ragavan instead if they dash. Maybe I'll fetch Shock and also Leyline Binding. No, the Founding the Third Path very specifically doesn't work with suspend cards. Okay, deck tech for BMAT and Acolyte. Think of it 27 months. Wow, they're countering this. No, Lucy, no. Pioneer Dreadless Dredge. I've so far like really disliked these Dreadless Dredge decks. I think they look so dopey to me, but I could take a look. I'm definitely going to just start my turn on this turn though. Goryo's Vengeance on Griselbrand, but they only have 1 mana up. And then I don't have any griefs in the deck, but I am supposed to look for Ephemerate. I'm supposed to draw 7, I think. It's not doing enough if I don't. I do find Ephemerate. So why don't I start off by casting Leyline Binding, and I think if my opponent has Spell Pierce, they're pretty likely to Spell Pierce this instead. And they don't Spell Pierce, so I'll go ahead and Ephemerate here. And if they do Spell Pierce this, I'll just Solitude my own Griselbrand. Okay. Gain 7. Oh, I didn't find a land. Alright, fair enough. Alright, but I've got 7 cards in my hand. I'm feeling alright. Life total's not too low either. Right, just casting Ragavan. Oh, and casting Hearse. So I've got the Stony Silence to answer the Hearse and help answer the Ragavan. So let me just go cast, or hold on, play Mire, cast Stony Silence. If they Hearse my Solitude, I'll Cottage my Solitude in response. And then if I Indulgence, am I drawing 2? I've got 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I'm not drawing 2. So let me actually just prioritize getting Griselbrand back in the yard. And then I don't really need to Solitude the Monkey, I think, since the treasures are turned off. I can't cast any white or black spells. Can't really cast anything except, yeah, nothing actually. Yeah, Cottage is great. Yeah, I agree this deck is pretty complicated, but it's so fun if you can, like, once you figure out the sequencing. I definitely recommend. Ooh. There's a pretty good chance my opponent cracks this Islet, right? Okay, they don't crack the Islet. But I can go, they attack with Ragavan, then I can go Goryo's Vengeance on the Griselbrand. And then they'll counter this, and then I'll go fetch Cottage, cast Aethermage's Touch. Don't think it matters to do this on the stack. Like Flusterstorm matters here. And then I can get, and they've countered this, I can upkeep cast the other touch here. Nope. It is very cool that this, like I think that this this version feels like the better Shadow Prophecy Leyline deck, but I think that it makes more sense to like not be on Shadow Prophecy in the Marsh Grave Archon version. So it's actually like, it kind of feels like this is like just the tech for this variant, you know. So Risk 10 months, thank you. Appreciate you. Let's get a 4-1 prediction going. I will say though that like the fact that Blood Moon is picking up in popularity is bad news for this archetype. Yeah, this league we lost to Murktide. We also beat Murktide just now. Beat Prowess. Can't remember what the other matchup was. Well, good thing they didn't counter the touch, huh? I think maybe this hand is like not that good of a keep. We have Solitude, Ephemerate. We have a 3-mana Leyline Binding. Probably should have mulliganed this actually. No Plains, at least for one Blood Moon matchup. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Like you could play a Plains and like bring it in. I would sideboard the Plains if you play it, but you have to fetch both Swamp and Plains. So you have to draw exactly Marsh Flats. It'll help. It would help. But Blood Moon is still going to be tough to beat, even if you play one Plains. You have other answers to it too, or just discard spells really. But yeah, those are answers. It's Murktide again. But digging Vanishing Verse as a sideboard card for Murktide and Esper Shadow. The problem with Verse in this deck is it doesn't answer their graveyard hate, but you know, doesn't sound terrible. Okay, cast the Indulgence, I think, in their upkeep. Maybe if they get a tap steam and subcast it. I'm really interested in resolving it, obviously. I do think Witch's Cottage and Ephemerate Leyline have some honest tension. So only getting to do one spot per rotation. Yeah. I actually think that the tension with Binding is like a little less than you think, because this version naturally wants to play so many fetch lands. I think that like basically all the other Reanimator variants are I mean, you could build them with more fetch lands, but like I really do like that this version just naturally wants to play a million fetches, you know. And so I think that helps with the tension with Binding. I do think that like sometimes like you'll want to double white in the same turn, but you can't. But I think it's fine. Obviously, like, you know, there has to be some trade-off in power level. This card can't have just no downside. I should have time for deck tech and someone sniped it, now it's a cooldown. Yeah, that's why you just gotta redeem them, you know. I always have time if they're available. I think Binding is spotting touch reanimator list with Archon. Yeah, we tried that this morning. I do think Binding has a place. Hold on. Lucy is like right next to some chords. Lucy, why don't you go play downstairs, huh? Good girl. I do think it has a place, and so in either the main deck or the sideboard. I think that it's like likely better enough than Prismatic Ending. That like playing the playset in the sideboard seems like kind of interesting. That being said, you could also try to main deck some copies, but I think I want to still be on Marsh Grave over Shadow Prophecy in that version, because you have Mole Drifter as like kind of that like grindier 3-mana plus card. Alright, Lucy's came right back. Opponent playing kind of slow. Playing kind of slow. It's fine. Alright, I think the way this game has been going, I'm happy enough to just hard cast a Grief this turn. And then we can set up for Aethermage's Touch on the Grief. If we want to. Hi, Lucy. Hello. She wants attention so badly. Okay, opponent is missing their 4th land drop, which is very interesting. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy to go end of turn, Aethermage's Touch, Grief, where they're probably going to counter the Aethermage's Touch, but then I can just untap and cast Grief. It's kind of bad if they have like Spell Pierce plus Counterspell. Oh, okay, then I can just do this now. Also, what's nice about like whenever you're doing this, when you're just like Aethermage's touching a I should let the charm resolve first though. When your Aethermage is touching a Grief in a spot like this, like you have 3 just like random chances to like find a Griselbrand and just win the game randomly. Yeah, I'm always doing the deck tech donations. They're always on. Quite a hand, huh? They did find their 2nd land also. I like that they have no permission. I'm going to take this iteration, I think. Fortunately, this isn't a white sword, so I can't Ephemerate the Grieve. Honestly, Expressive Iteration. I mean, I'm not too scared of their creatures, because my hand is all creature removal. And they have 3 removal spells. Taking one of those doesn't seem like it does much. So I like taking the Expressive Iteration there. Yeah. Oh, you're saying honestly take the iteration. I see. Okay, I'm just gonna I think hardcast the Solitude here while they tapped out. Just get a nice 2-for-1, and then I always like in this spot against Murktide where if they kill you, when they kill your Solitude, you're just gonna be able to Witch's Cottage it back and just have a 2-for-1 into 2-for-1. Thank you for playing Treat. Of course. Good luck to you on your quest for your new main. I think Ravenman could work well in Asmo with Cookbook and Daredevil. I don't know if it could work super well, but it could work maybe a little bit. 4th. I think this is our 3rd matchup versus Blue-Red this league. It's definitely a tricky matchup. Tricky. So they have Bolt Heat Mystery card, right? Well, we're not too far off from casting that. I'm going to play this just so they can't Archmage's Charm. They have Counterspell. I'm pretty upset. Upset. 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're one land away. Although we're just chump blocking the the Murktide, which is less than ideal. Hey Lucy, Haley, come here. You think there's not room? You're gonna fall. You're gonna knock over my cords. Yes, come here. Yes. That's a good girl, Lucy. Oh no! Lucy, no. I mean, I just cast the Griselbrand. I can't pay life, and then they Heat Bolt. We lose. Her tail's wagging. Let me just sideboard real quick. The Lucy chair is not enough attention for Lucy. Not enough attention for little Lucy. Oh no, she's so floppy. She's so floppy. Tail's still wagging though. Does Athena get jealous? Athena gets jealous that Lucy gives us more attention than Lucy gives to Athena. But she's not jealous of us giving attention to Lucy. Because Athena thinks Lucy is her dog, and she's kind of right. Lucy's huge. I think the cameras. She's like a mid-sized dog. She's a mid-sized dog. I think the usual Lucy cam makes her look smaller than she is, and this probably makes her look bigger than she actually is. Yeah, we just had to stick to it. I mean, I think the name fits her pretty well. Yeah, I'm just tiny. I don't know where you're going. Tutors, thank you for the 6 months. Love you, buddy. Thank you. This is the best spot for you to be, Lucy. A great spot. Does the Vengeance deck seem stronger? I think this is a better place for the domain cards, but I don't know if it's necessarily stronger than the other version. That says AFK. Yeah, she's doing the standing desk, huh? Try not to shoulder her too much. Yeah, I want to get Lucy emotes going. I'm playing D&D with my emote artist tonight. She's been very busy. She had a baby and bought a house. Macklemore, $10. You post a link in the chat, I can take a look. It's a good time for a deck tech. Good time for a deck tech since we are waiting for our opponent to come back. This is such a weird... Oh, sorry. Oh, no, dude. I totally didn't do the... I totally forgot to do the dredge one. I just said I don't like the dredge decks. Okay. Who was it that did the dredge one? Are you still here? Do you hate me? We'll do it. We got time. I'm sorry. I totally forgot to get back into it. Can someone find out who that was? Any mods? Abs and Aristocrats and Pioneer. This is interesting. I feel like Blister Pod is better than Doom Traveler. That mana is pretty good. I'll probably play the fourth one before the first one of these. Oh no, this is modern. Oh no, this is modern. It looks like you got a Pioneer deck in modern, to be honest. Oh, this isn't modern legal though. And like you can play Cutthroat over Artist. I don't know how necessary the Sophy is. I'm surprised not to see any carrion feeders either. I feel like I'd be playing like a carrion feeder over Village Rites. I think we'd be playing 4 Viserys here, 4 carrion feeders, 0 Cartel Aristocrat. I think I'd be playing 4 Collected Company as well. And you could probably, and I think maybe I would be playing 4 Renegade Rallier and being more in on that loop, that combo with Sophy. Just like 4 of those. Not playing these dopey 1-drops. Not playing those dopey 1-drops. And then maybe you just in on the Sophy loop rather than you're playing more Collected Companies than Rally the Ancestors. That could be interesting. B-Mat? Yes, B-Mat's still here. Yeah, I'm sorry, B-Mat. I'm sorry. Just, yeah, if I'm, you know, I'm sorry. I don't have anything else to say. Just a naked apology. We'll do yours right after this. My opponent is back, though. They're mulled to 5. Yeah, but I think I would just be more interested in being on, like, I think the Sophy loop seems pretty interesting. I think trying to be in on that by playing, like main deck Tide Hollow Sculler, main deck Unearth, like being in on Earth, Rally Ancestors, Carrion Feeder, or Viserys here, and just try to like assemble your 3-card combo with like that loop, you know. I think that makes more sense to me than the Rally the Ancestors route. Rally is just, you know, a lot weaker in modern, with all these counter spells, endurances. And like it feels like you need to win with the Sophy Rallier loop anyways, and Rallier I do like how just like Rallier seems to be a pretty good generic card, if that makes sense. I think I'm getting Godless Shrine so that I have 2 different colors for Teferi. Sideboard, I don't like these Force of Despairs in the sideboard. I feel like you probably need like sideboard, the full Force Scholars. Torpor Orb is also, I think, really bad in your list, right? If you're going to be more on the Rallier, it is at least. But I don't like these orbs. I don't like the Force of Despairs. I also kind of want the Scholars in the main deck. I think Endurance would be a good sideboard card for you. Okay, I'm just going to end of turn Tainted Indulgence. Oh. Oh, no, oh, no. She didn't have a exit plan. I keep missing the stream. I'm live the same time every morning. I'm live 9 a.m. Central Standard Time house on weekdays, although I wasn't live yesterday. Kind of a lot of these thoughts, I don't know. Like, these like, rally, these, like... I think Rally the Ancestors is not a good strategy in Modern. I think you could try to port this into a Pioneer deck. I think you could try to port this into a deck more focused on the Safi combo. I don't like being on this build in Modern though. I think those are my thoughts. Now, as far as Modern Dredge goes, hold on. I know you don't have the land, but being able to go into turn Goryo's Vengeance, untap Goryo's Vengeance is pretty nice. Obviously, if they have 2 counter spells here, good beats. We get to keep playing though. Although maybe if I draw a land, I'll just Teferi. That could be good. Another deck tech for Zephy. All the deck techs at the same time today. Okay, I guess I'm kind of confused with the 1-1 split between Decimator and Elder Deep Fiend. Surely one of these 2 cards is better than the other one. Or like usually better than the other one. And like I feel like I'd just be interested in like doing... Teferi's also better against Flusterstorm here. Like playing 2 Decimator or you know, 2 Elder Deep Fiend, whichever one is normally better with no way to tutor them. Oh, this was worse against Dispute though. Okay, this is fine. So lots of ways to reanimate, and what's nice is we have a lot of time, in theory, because we have Solitude plus extra Stony Silence to kill a creature, and they can't Graveyard Hate Me. I don't think Founding the Third Path fits here, with only really the 4 Grizzly Salvage as good ways to reanimate. Or, sorry, good like spells to cast with it. I think that I would not play the Founding. I'd probably just play the 4th Lurgoyf over that, play 2 Decimators. I think your list looks pretty good. I think the sideboard makes a lot of sense. Although I might be interested in like Leyline of the Void for the Izzet matchups in the sideboard of this list. I guess Witherbloom Command is there to kill opposing Rest in Pieces, but like the thing about that though is like Rest in Peace is just like a really uncommon card in Pioneer these days. It is just not one that shows up that often. I don't know that you need that many copies. I don't think you need these marches for the mono red matchups though. I feel like you probably have a good mono red matchup. The deck is 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, that's fair. Kind of looks like it, huh? Okay, so I think I'm just gonna go Solitude by Ragavan. Draw 7. If I find an Ephemerate, I'll Ephemerate. I don't find an Ephemerate, so now I'll just go Solitude my Griselbrand. Gain 7. I think I'm just gonna play Cottage as like a painless source. I'm not gonna use the Cottage here. And then go to discard. Still have 2 more Cottages in the deck. Alright, so there was one more deck tech, right? From Zephy. I don't know if you posted the link in the chat. I don't think I saw it. If you can post it in the chat, I will take a look though. Okay, so let's just go end of turn Goryos. Just happy to, 1 for 1 here. Just me being up so many cards. And then Shadow Prophecy can find me my 4th Goryos potentially, but I'm also happy enough to just find a Cottage to put Griselbrand on top to set up for Aethermage's Touch. There's a cottage. We'll take Mire Teferi. And I think I'm just gonna play the Godless Shrine tapped this turn though. With Leyline Binding, Solitude up. Why didn't I fetch for Cottage? Fetch for Cottage and do what there? Put Griselbrand on top? I didn't have a fetch into the hand this turn, and like the previous turn I was discarding. Maybe I should have kept the fetch in the hand, I guess. Oh, I don't have Domain. I guess I should have realized that when I cast the Shadow Prophecy. A lot of resources here, but no Domain. I guess we'll just go... I'm going to wait on the Aethermage's Touch still. I'm going to go tap Proving Ground here. Cast Leyline Binding, which is presumably just going to resolve. And just cast it to Teferi, then I can set up for Aethermage's Touch next turn. Just 1-for-1. Why did you keep it to not do it instead of playing Godless Shrine? Yeah, I should have played the Godless Shrine. Yeah, that would have been better. Great draw here, since I can Teferi plus Aethermage's Touch now. Deck for Zephy. Enchantress, okay. Hallowed Hunting is a card I haven't read before, or in a long time. As long as you can control 7 more enchantments, creatures have flying, vigilance, cast enchantment spell, power, toughness, you get number of spirits. I always feel like this card, like these kind of cards, are unnecessary to win the game. I feel like they are like really mana intensive, and you just win like almost all your games with Destiny Spinner anyways. I also really dislike playing Prismatic Vista in your Leyline Binding deck. You need to be playing all fetch lands, all just green fetches. Any green fetch should be the same after you've maxed out on Windswept Heath. You also need to be playing, I think, at least I want like at least 9 in these domain lists. Maybe even up to 10. I think that like I'm interested in cutting the Beseiju and cutting the Hall of the Storm Giants to get up to at least 9. Or sorry, Hall of Heliod's Generosity. I personally do not necessarily feel like Hall of Heliod's Generosity is like that important in the Enchantress deck. It does definitely come up. It could definitely be more impactful, more important than I've seen it in action, but at least in my experience playing against the card, I just don't feel like it's a mandatory inclusion, and I do think that Leyline Binding has enough hoops for you to jump through that you should be jumping through those hoops and not playing Beseiju Hall, playing 9 green fetches. And then at that point, I think you should be cutting the Ending and the Hallowed Hunting if you are going to jump through those hoops to play Leyline Binding in the first place. Although I also think you should only play 1 Blood Moon, just 1 Blood Moon in the main deck as a tutor target, and then you can play like the rest of the like 3 more in the sideboard for like the big mana matchups, and then you can like trim Leyline Binding in those potentially. Oh yeah, I would be down on at least 3 Confinement main deck, maybe 4. I think Confinement is so good, or at the very least is like a huge part of your deck's game plan. Okay, I'm gonna just resubmit here. I'm not in love with Flame Blitz. I think you have a pretty good 4-color math matchup already. Leyline Binding gives you more answers to Planeswalkers. I think that I'd be cutting those for the Blood Moons. Potentially the Emrakul too, unless you feel like you need them for the mill matchup. Then you can keep them. Okay, so I guess I can use these as my Esper colors and just get the Proving Ground with this. Yeah, so just go tap Godless Shrine turn 1. I think those are my thoughts. Is Binding Shadow Prophecy worth considering if you wanted to brew a 5-color Shadow deck? You don't want to. You can't play 3 mana draw spells, I think, in your Death Shadow deck. So can't Binding this, have to just cast Indulgence into turn. Should fetch Proving Ground to potentially binding turn 2. Oh yeah, I should have just gotten it turn 1. I don't know what I was thinking. I wanted to wait on it. Yeah, sorry, that was definitely missequenced. Is Shadow Prophecy be a staple in creativity set decks? I saw Young Dingo played it in a I think he like 4-0 to prelim or something, and said that he liked it. I'm like honestly like a little like less sure that it's better than Prismari Command, but it's a good card. I think it's better if you like play more Persist, if you're playing like Persist creativity. Oh, I suppose I should have responded to the Shredder with the Indulgence to stop them from conniving. Sorry guys. I do think I'm just going to main phase Binding on Ragavan. That mana generation is a big problem. Obviously, we have some cards that they could hit that are... we'd prefer for them to not hit, too. The Thief's doing a cooking stream. It's very fun. Is he doing a sponsored one like we did, or just, you know, for fun? I know he's done a few for fun ones. Thinking of like Shadow Prophecy and everything. He's running it in ad nauseum. It's interesting. Like for me, I think Shadow Prophecy is like... in Modern, going to be mostly just good when you have graveyard synergies, and you don't have that many in like the creativity list with just one Archon, you know, or just with just one Persist. I think creativity is good to play without Fable. Fable is super important. I'd be personally pretty unlikely to play the deck without Fable. Yeah, Double Pierce is Double Pierce Ragavan Hearse is really tough to play through on the draw. Yeah, that's true. They at least didn't have the Ragavan turn 1. I also didn't, you know, sequence super well. Murktide. Okay, we'll play the Shadow Prophecy here. Gonna be very tough to win this game. Isn't this a situation where you're desperate enough to blind touch? I think I would rather try to set up for like touch, incentivize the hearse first. Do you think I'm gonna go like this? And we're gonna go Solitude. I'm obviously hoping my opponent doesn't have a counterspell of any kind. I'm gonna go Solitude, target the Murktide into Cottage, target Solitude. They probably hearse, and then we have to hope to hit Griselbrand off of our touch. That being said, with my opponent pausing and tanking here, I don't think they have a counterspell, but... Alright, sorry, I do think they have a counterspell, but I don't think that they're going to target the Solitude. Wow, they do. Okay. In that case, we can Aethermage's touch. We can Cottage target Solitude. But are we ever winning this game if I go Cottage target Solitude, Solitude the Murktide, block Ragavan? I don't think I'm like that likely to win in that situation. So I think I'm gonna target this. And they don't fall for the bait with the hearse, but I'm just gonna I think we're pretty behind if we do that though. We just have nothing else after that. I'm just gonna try to hit Griselbrand. I think we're too behind. Although maybe we just like Solitude, like Cottage back Solitude, but they have the hearse, yeah. I think the most likely way we win this game is if we hit Griselbrand. I think I just want the extra look. I mean, I'm 3 mana away from hardcast Griselbrand. I don't know. I thought this line was fine. Obviously, didn't work out. 3-2 that league. Okay, hold on. Let's play test the Phoenix thing one more time. So the